live and over 45 minutes late. But we're here. It's Tuesday. Parking lot.
Oh, it's also the ugly parking lot.
Parking lot.
It's the ugliest parking lot.
See, here we are. We're hardcore urban people in the concrete jungle of Land Park area.
We don't live in Land Park.
Near the zoo and the pond with a fountain.
Yes, but we drive through Land Park to get here. It takes a half an hour.
So yes, so we're running a little late today, but that's okay. I've asked Constance to talk about the abyss.
Oh, there's a dragonfly just landed on our car. Oh, how lovely.
Oh,
it's still
well,
there.
Perhaps I can find that dragonfly to. Let's see here. How can I turn this thing around?
He wants to listen to us.
Okay, hang
Hello,
on.
dragonfly.
There, I've turned it around.
Go out the window.
Where is it? Out the
On your aerial.
On my aerial. Do you see it? There it is. Oh, he flew away.
He's camera
He's shy.
Oh, he came right back as soon as you took the camera away.
There. Hello.
The camera won't hurt you.
Say hello. No, don't say hello, because unless you're union, and then we have to pay you if you have dialogue. But we can. You don't have a speaking part, but Constance has a speaking.
Oh God.
Has a speaking part this.
Good morning. I just hope you all had a good week. Our week was, we went to 2 masses and I made a lot of banana bread. I never went, well, not never, but for a long time. There'll be no more. I make whole wheat with all kinds of, should have like 5 ingredients, and I make it into 15, so it takes a long time. And it's totally mutated.
With lemon.
The lemon zest glaze and everything else. But never mind. I really don't. Also, I went to a Saturday morning has been my new trick to try to keep from
killing her husband.
Really? No. Just from on despair and ennui. Going for a bike ride in a new territory where there's less traffic and looking for garage sales early Saturday morning. And I've been finding a couple the last 2-3 times. Anyway, I found a really unusual one very close to our house. Why am I talking about a garage sale? Because it was pretty amazing. It was some woman who was a world traveler and a craft show person, which you kind of go, ew. I mean, I do the Christmas crafts and stuff. They're, styrofoam balls with, anyway, they're not good. It's awful. But she was a real one.
With glitter.
There were bins of exotic big bins of exotic embroidery thread and all really, really beautiful hook rug things and fabric samples and tablecloths and napkins and things. Anyway, it's like a nice 6-pack of Indian cotton, very inexpensive.
And I folded them.
Cloth napkins, because after I washed them, he folded them. Cloth napkins, because we use cloth napkins, because I use paper towels and other things, but we use cloth napkins and we eat because we're cone heads. Don't ask.
We wave at the claw.
And they don't wave back, but that's another thing. Anyway, but the woman, anyway, her children, I thought maybe she was dead. The first, he was on for 2 days, and the second day I went back, and no, her children were there, one from Boston, and one from San Francisco, I think, and somewhere else. Very nice people, and they were running the show, but it was the whole backyard full of these giant bins of things, and then I found out the next day there was more stuff in the garage. But she was in a like a garden room kind of with the doors open so that we could go say hello to her, and she was like in a hospital bed, and she had broken her foot, and she had a lovely face, kind of radiant, and her children were kind of attending her, and she wasn't quite on her deathbed, although she came in, and I went in, I had to, because it was so amazing, the stuff. I thanked her for well, it was obvious, for using her creativity to herself make so much beauty in the world and help other people do the same thing. And she said, oh, well, I'm on my way out. This is the end of it. And I said, oh, no, which came to my head because I'm clergy. No, this isn't the end of it. No one knows the end of all your acts. And her daughter was there and went, oh, that's beautiful. Of course, that made me feel good, but, and it really made her feel good. And I told her, everything she made, people are passing, it was such quality, people were passing it on to their children. And if they didn't want it, they would put it in garage sales and somebody else would get it. And you taught lots of people how to do the crafts and make beautiful things. And so you're encouraging their creativity, and that's what we're here for, is to create like God creates. And I told her all the good things and things that she created in love, and with those things will all live forever. So anyway, and it just goes on and on endlessly. And so she didn't feel so low after I left, and that made me feel good, of course. But and then whenever you say something, it just bounces right back to you. So you're just talking to yourself. As I know, after living with Lon for so long, most of the time I'm just talking to myself.
What'd you say?
He didn't even say what to say.
Oh.
He didn't care. He didn't care when he wasn't deaf.
Dear, it's not
Because
that I
I'm
can't
like-
hear. I'm just not listening.
That's right. He said that before too. Because I talk about the abyss a lot, which now he is actually, so he's actually starting, and I'm not, I already, who cares at this point? I'm talking about something else. But anyway, so all week we should just think about, no one knows the end of all your acts. So if we start feeling low, we've all done, and then that might make you feel guilty, thinking, oh, I hurt people, I made a mistake, oh God, as Christians would say, I've sinned. I have things to repent for. Forget that part. Because only the things that you've created in love last forever. Everything else, because it just didn't happen. I'm sorry. It just doesn't happen. So it just doesn't last. It doesn't last. It's just, it would be, anyway. So you can correct all your errors yourself, with help. Because if you really can't correct them right away because you didn't know they were errors until 50 years later. So, but anyway, no one knows. So if no one, anyway, I'm trying to say, do something this week that will obviously do something creative and beautiful that will live forever.
Well, that's
Like you.
wise words. And I was listening to that because I'm holding the camera.
He
Yes.
has no choice.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go buy more vegetables.
Okay. You're going to have to open up the side door
I have
this
to
morning.
open the side door because I didn't get my bags out today
Okay.
ahead of time. So thank you for listening and have a good week.
Okay, get some treats with those coconut things.
Yes, I'll get one bar that we share.
All right.
Okay, now you may turn the camera.
Okay. Okay, now I'm going to try to turn this camera around
Without shutting it off.
without shutting it off. Let's see, did I do it? Ah, looks like I did. Okay, dear, thank you very much. I got to adjust
Now
my...
he's going to talk about something important.
Now I'm going to
women
talk
babbling about their
real
lives there.
important junk. Anyway, if anyone's left... If anyone is still here... Okay. Anyway, hello. Welcome to Parking Lot Tuesday. I'm Act 2. What do you say to a friend or an acquaintance or maybe one of your Facebook friends or something? What do you do when a friend tells you they've crossed the abyss? Do you laugh and say, yeah, sure? Or do you say, wow, when did that happen? Or do you say, no, you didn't? Or Are you crazy? Do you argue? Or do you just love them and consider the possibility that they might have indeed crossed the abyss? And that right at that moment, you're actually talking to a Buddha. You're actually talking to a master of the temple. It's kind of one of those things, because even though it may appear to your Ruachian intellect, Ruachian, that's a Rabbi Ben Clifford terminology for your meat brain. If you just know pretty confidently with your Ruachian part of your soul that your friend is completely deluded and doesn't understand what it means to cross the abyss and what level of consciousness a person would be operating from if they had indeed crossed the abyss. You may, in your arrogance, may have analyzed the possibility that they've crossed the abyss as astronomically unlikely. But do you really know? Who are you to judge? Now you can make a good judgment if you belong to a club or an organization or a fraternal organization, when somebody says they're this or that degree, and you know that they haven't gone through the ceremony, and you know that they haven't paid the dues, and you know that they haven't done the memory work, and you know that it's the height of presumption to claim something like that. But this is something else. Crossing the abyss is something else. And even if you belong to an organized group that requires you to actually experience the level of consciousness your degree is a metaphor for, before you can claim that degree, when it comes to this degree, it's the level of consciousness associated with the third sephira on the tree of life, Binah. And Binah, understanding, is the opening act of the supernal triad. So Binah is really part one of Ipsissimus. Number 3 is only the first act of number 1, and Godhead itself. And if you're not there, you have no damn right to make a judgment whether somebody else is or is not. Now, let me see if I can find this here. Let's see. It's in the section of Tarot and Kabbalah in Allow Me to Introduce. And I introduce Frater Akkad's classic text QBL. And I'll talk, if you're unfamiliar with Frater Akkad, this little introduction. So that was it was to the 2005 edition that was published by Weiser. And here are the few words I have to say about not only the abyss, but about Frater Akkad himself, because he's a great magical adept, or he was a great magical adept, had a falling out with Crowley, which I'll describe briefly here, just in this little introduction. And And maybe when we're through with my few words here, we might have a clue what was going on in that relationship, and how the across the abyss consciousness could have been the wild card in this whole adventure between Crowley and Frater Akkad. Because we got to remember that Crowley was also a master of the temple, but he was also Crowley. And Frater Akkad was a master of the temple, but he was also Frater Akkad. And it's the meet Crowley and Akkad that were probably having a problem, because the masters of the temple were dealing with each other on another level. Here's what it is. QBL is the name of the book I'm introducing. Being a Kabbalistic treatise on the nature and use of the tree of life. The epigram, or epigraph, starts off I, and then a blank for you to insert your own name. I, Lon Milo DuQuette, a member of the body of God, hereby bind myself on behalf of the whole universe, even as I am now physically bound unto the cross of suffering, that I will lead a spiritual life as a devoted servant of the order, that I will love all things, that I will experience all things and endure all things, that I will continue in the knowledge and conversation of my holy guardian angel, that I will work without attachment, that I will work in truth, that I will rely ultimately upon myself, that I shall realize my true will, that I will interpret every phenomenon as a particular dealing of God with my soul. And if I fail therein, may my pyramid be profaned, and the eye closed to me. The above declaration is known as the Oath of the Abyss. Whosoever utters it with full magical intention invokes a terrible curse upon themselves, for they are either hopelessly deluded and committing an act of supreme spiritual presumption, or they have balanced and perfected all aspects of what most of us consider to be self, and are now prepared to take the last irrevocable step toward becoming more than human. In both cases, the world will presume they've gone mad. On the summer solstice of 1916, Charles Robert John Stansfeld Jones, Frater Akkad, an accountant from Vancouver and an AA neophyte, 1 degree equals 10, formally took the Oath of the Abyss, thereby laying claim, in accordance with the traditions of that august fraternity, laying claim to the initiatory title of Master of the Temple, 8 degrees equals 3. Jones dutifully reported this event in a telegram to Aleister Crowley, his superior in the order, who 9 months earlier in September labored in vain, he thought, to beget a child with his scarlet woman, Jean Robert Foster. Crowley was amazed by the circumstances of Jones' initiation and the timing of the event. He wrote in his Confessions, quote, "Every cause must produce its proper effect, so that in this case the son whom I willed to beget came to birth on a plane other than the material. What I had really done was therefore to beget a magical son. So precisely 9 months afterwards, that is the summer solstice on 1916, Frater O.I.V., the motto of C. Stansfeld Jones as probationer, entirely without my knowledge became a babe of the abyss." Unquote. Jones's remarkable success also represented in Crowley's mind a stunning validation of the AA system of magical attainment. The proud father gushed, quote, "I could only conclude that his success was almost wholly due to the excellence of the system which I had given unto the world. In short, it was the justification of my whole life, the unique and supreme reward of my immeasurable toil." I got to digress and observe this wonderful personal event of somebody else, Frater Akkad. And Crowley's comment said, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm so happy for you, Chuck," he says, "This proves my thing was really good." It's like when a great person dies, everybody, as they're eulogizing them, says, "Oh, Regardi really liked me." "Oh, Regardi's dead. He really liked me. I really had an effect on his life." But anyway, I digress. Excuse me. Crowley's confidence in Akkad was further bolstered by a string of discoveries Jones would soon make, vital Kabbalistic keys that unlocked fundamental mysteries of the Book of the Law and the Aeon of Horus. Some of these were outlined in a tiny book, Liber 31, which Jones sent to Crowley in 1919. Crowley couldn't be happier with the revelations. Quote, "Your key opens the palace." Now, I'm going to digress again. Because in modern times, after Crowley's death, after Akkad's death, after lots of people's death, there are new Thelemic magician adepts that are still finding wonderful, stunning, breathtaking revelations of the Book of the Law and the holy books of Thelema. And I just don't think that we're trapping the classics of 19th and 20th century magicians in some kind of magical glop of amber, and that's the only thing that we can study, or the only thing that we can ponder on, or even debate. So there's wonderful modern comments from modern magicians that are going on too, and I encourage you to look into all of them. In particular, one that's just been blowing my mind recently is some works by David Allen Hulse, and and our late brother Bill Heydrich, who just passed last month, did wonderful work too. Just so, don't think you just have to study the writing of adepts that are trapped in amber.
But I digress. It seems in Akkad, Crowley truly had found the, quote, one, unquote, foretold in the Book of the Law. Quote, the one to follow thee, unquote. The one, quote, who shall discover the key of it all. The magical child and brilliant heir apparent to the great beast and prophet of the Aeon of Horus. Perhaps he had. But the father-son relationship of these two great adepts shared, would not endure to the end. Endure to the end was Crowley's motto, Frater Perdurabo. I shall endure to the end. But I digress. I'm digressing all over the place. I'm sorry. Eventually, it would become strained to the breaking point, and amazingly, we know the exact date this beautiful relationship began to sour. We have a written record of the precise moment, the moment Frater Akkad experienced either a quantum leap in consciousness or else stepped off the zenith edge of supernal adeptship into the abyss of occult madness. It happened on May 31st, 1922, as Jones was writing the fourth chapter of his book QBL, The Bride's Reception. Fabulous book, still in print. Get it. If it wasn't for the chicken Kabbalah, I'd say it's the greatest fundamental introduction to Hermetic Kabbalah in print. The appendix is where he gets in trouble, but I'll get to that in a second. Jones is writing the fourth chapter of QBL, or The Bride's Reception, a moment that would literally turn Kabbalistic universe upside down. Quote, this is Frater Akkad. I had written thus far, May 31st, 1922, when I was rewarded with the opening up of, and I gotta show you this because Frater Akkad in QBL uses all caps a lot, and sometimes those all caps are referring to the titles of the Sephira, like understanding or wisdom or beauty or things like that. And sometimes you don't know why he's writing the words in all caps, except that your mind tends to scream them when you read them. Okay. I'd written so far when I was rewarded with the opening of the secrets so wonderful that they've changed my whole concept of the plan of the Kabbalah, and have indeed proved not alone a lightning flash to destroy the house of God, but a serpent of wisdom to reconstruct it, and yet again a star which explains all the symbolism, this matter being of such transcendent importance, will be dealt with in a form of an appendices to this volume, which will be obtainable under certain special conditions. Now, I apologize for the dramatics there, but having indeed proved not only a lightning flash is the energy, the light, the force coming down from number 1, like a lightning flash to number 10. That's the lightning flash. But the serpent that he's talking about is the serpent of wisdom, which is the snake that crawls back up the tree of life from the bottom, from number 10, and it hits absolutely my snake doesn't do this because I just did it in the parking lot a minute ago. But it's a serpent that as it rises from the bottom of the tree to the top of the tree, actually winds its slithery serpentiness around absolutely every one of the 22 paths, going back up again. And those paths are traditionally the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Starting with Aleph, way at the top, that's the path from 1 to 2, to Bet, which is 1 to 3, and Gimel, which is 1 to 6. So it's going down. So the very lowest path, Tav, the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, is the one closest to the bottom. That's the serpent of wisdom. Serpent of wisdom! They're looking at me in the park. I'm in a play. So are you. Aren't we all? Okay. Meanwhile, the main plan of this book will be followed as originally intended. This book mean QBL. So he goes on. He had this great idea at this certain part of his writing or dictating this book, and so he's going to carry it through to the end. And then in the appendices, he's going to tell about this revelation. So meanwhile, the main plan of this book will be followed as originally intended, since it's necessary that the student should have a clear and comprehensive grasp of the old system before he could appreciate the new. Now, when Crowley probably first read that far, he's going, oh, what the fuck is he gonna do? Old system, new system, cross the abyss. Oh God. Oh, well, anyway, this is back to Lon speaking here. Fortunately for us, Jones did indeed follow the original plan of the text through to completion and saved elucidations on his revolutionary theories for the book's appendices. This thoughtful gesture, in my opinion, renders the main text of QBL the clearest, most understandable, and practical introduction to the study of the Kabbalah written to that date. So, of course, Chicken Kabbalah came after that. The rabbi would insist that I say that. It also effectively prepares the more Kabbalistically educated reader for the provocative ideas presented in the appendices. Concepts suggest that the traditional allocation of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet upon the 22 paths of the Tree of Life should be in essence reversed in their positions. Such a suggestion isn't necessarily heretical, especially when posited from the point of view of a master of the temple, 8 = 3, an adept whose consciousness abides above the abyss and separates the supernal triad of the Tree of Life, Keter Hokmah Bina, an abyss below which division is the result of contradictions, and above the abyss in which contradiction is unity. Crowley, however, was not impressed with what he considered to be Akkad's flawed and immature grasp of this rule of contraries. He would later write, quote, "But this rule must be applied with skill and discretion if error is to be avoided. It is a lamentable fact that a worthy zealoter of AA, one Frater Akkad, having been taught patiently enough by the seer to use this formula, was lured by his vanity to suppose that he had discovered it himself, and proceeded to apply it indiscriminately. He tried to stand the serpent of wisdom on its head and argued that as he was a 1 equals 10 of the order, he must equally be a 10 equals 1. As the Book of Lies, chapter 63 says, I wrenched a dog backwards to find God, and now God barks. He would have been better advised to revise his own adored one. Okay, frut or akkad. Akkad means unity. Akkad means one in Hebrew. Okay, or one, singularity. And one is spelled O-N-E. He said he would have been better to reverse his adored one and taken a dose of Eno. That's one spelled backwards, E-N-O, which at a time was a popular laxative. He would have been better advised to reverse his adored one and taken a dose of Eno. Okay, and Lon goes on to say, because he wasn't on the page to digress, one in Hebrew is akkad. Eno is the brand name of an English laxative. A year later, in 1923, upon receipt of Akkad's next book, The Egyptian Revival, Crowley voiced in his diary his exasperation with the direction his son was taking. Quote, what line shall I take with regard to Frater Akkad's books? I have just received The Egyptian Revival and threat of others. The point is this: the books, even apart from the absurd new attribution proposed for the paths, are so hopelessly bad in almost every way. English, style, sense, point of view, everything. Yet they may do good to people they are written for. My real concern is lest he get too much hubris and come a real cropper. Now those are, he actually spelled hubris, like a cockney, and come a real cropper, which is some kind of British slang. His fears become, at least in Crowley's mind, a reality. He wrote in Magic and Theory and Practice. That's probably way up in around mid-1920s. Quote, one who ought to have known better tried to improve the tree of life by turning the serpent of wisdom upside down. Yet he could not even make his scheme symmetrical. And anybody can see if they look at his appendices that it starts off really, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that would make, you could put that there. Yeah, you could put that there. And then the higher you get in the tree of life, he's no, that wouldn't work there, and that would, well, anyway. Yet he could not even make his scheme symmetrical. His little remaining good sense revolted at the supreme atrocities. Yet he succeeded in reducing the whole magical alphabet to nonsense, and shewing that he had never understood its real meaning. The absurdity of any such disturbance of the arrangement of the paths is evident to any sober student from such examples as following. Binah, the supernal understanding, is connected with Tifereth, the human consciousness. By Zion, Gemini, the oracles of the gods, or intuition. That is, the attribution represents a psychological fact. To replace it by the devil is either humor or plain idiocy. Again, the card called Fortitude, Leo, balances majesty and mercy. It's that horizontal one between 5 and 4. Again, the card Fortitude, Leo, balances majesty and mercy with strength and severity. What sense is there in putting death, the scorpion, in its stead? There are 20 other mistakes in the new wonderful illuminated from on high attribution. The student can therefore be sure of 20 more laughs if he cares to study it. Now, I'm not going to go back and jump in Crowley's mind, but each of them had something going for them. Okay, I'm not saying Crowley was overreacting. Crowley was being Crowley, and I kind of think Akkad should not have expected anything less of a reaction from Crowley. But tell us how you really feel, Mr. Crowley, is what I wrote. Of course, it can be argued that Crowley was simply jealous of Akkad's discovery, the speed of his initiatory advancement, and his independent spirit. After all, Crowley could be viciously cruel and petty. It must be pointed out, however, that no matter how bitterly he railed against Jones's new doctrines, he always acknowledged and praised his role as the discoverer of the Kabbalistic key to Liber Al Vel Leges, the Book of the Law. The fact remains that Jones's behavior as the years progressed led many to believe that he had suffered bouts of mental illness. Such things are hard to prove, especially where magicians are concerned, and should not necessarily cast negative aspersions upon the quality of his work done during healthier times, or negate the real possibility that such behavior manifested because Jones was enraptured in inscrutably high levels of consciousness. Yes, he would join the Roman Catholic Church in an attempt to transmute this world religion into one that accepts the law of Thelema and the formula of the Age of Horus. But was that an act of insanity or simply the bold and audacious act of a Thelemic hero? Yes, he would be putting away for flinging aside his raincoat to expose his nakedness to the masses of Vancouver. But are the naked sadhus of India imprisoned for indecency? It's easy for us, especially those whose initiatory careers place us conspicuously low on the tree of life, to point to these incidents and speculate how Akkad's premature advance to the master of the temple caused his ultimate fall into the madness of Da'ath. Now, Da'ath, I call it the false sephira called knowledge. Quote, knowledge, Da'ath. Just like Kether is the crown and Tifereth is beauty. Da'ath is knowledge. Smack dab inside the abyss. No longer for Adeptus Exemptus, or 3, Master of the Temple. Da'ath is where you drop when you don't make it, when you fail in raising your consciousness from Hesed, number 4, to Bina, number 3. So I'm going to read that sentence one more time. It's easy for us, especially those of us whose initiatory careers place us conspicuously low on the tree of life, to point to these incidents and speculate how Akkad's premature advance to Master of the Temple caused his ultimate fall into the madness of Da'ath, the false Sephirah knowledge that resides in the abyss itself, to become a black brother. In truth, very few people on the face of the earth are qualified to make that judgment, certainly not I. Akkad himself, however, gives us a chilling hint of his thoughts on this matter in a 1948 letter to Gerald York. Quote, "If this new aeon is what it seems to be, it will have lifted the curse of the Magus and destroyed the glamour and lies and madness of the supernal paths. That would leave one in Doth and represent real attainment, the becoming one with those, capital those, capital who, capital no. That would leave one in Da'ath and represent real attainment, the becoming one with those who know. Not those who understand, not those who have achieved wisdom, not those who have assimilated into the crown, but those who know. Speculation and controversy aside, Frater Akkad remains one of the most interesting and important magical figures of the 20th century. His initial Kabbalistic discoveries continue to yield new and provocative ideas concerning the Book of the Law and other holy books of Thelema. Most exciting, in my opinion, is work currently underway on the development of a Kabbalah based on the letters of the English alphabet, which, while not an Akkad discovery per se, is based in part on his Liber 31. QBL, or the Bride's Reception, is a masterpiece of Kabbalah and controversy. Its importance to the world of modern occult literature can be measured not only by its value as a remarkable and remarkably understandable textbook of the fundamental principles of Kabbalah, but offers us a rare glimpse into the heart and mind of a brilliant and sincere seeker of wisdom and truth. And that's our parking lot thoughts for today. And I know I started really late, and I know that was probably too long for everybody, but I think we'll be back into the swing of things tomorrow. Actually, we'll be in another parking lot tomorrow, so I'll try to make it on time, and I'll try to make it shorter tomorrow. So until then, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.